Can you hear it loud? The world is ready. Stand up proud. Your story is power. Your passion's the spark. With Innovate AI and i3, you'll leave your mark.
This morning we're going to start off with book authority. How many of you have a book? Raise your hand. How many of you are an author? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Raise that hand. Own it. How many of you would love to be an author? Raise your hand. There you go. Well, you're in the right space, in the right place with the right people. And what we're going to do is, Eric is getting our PowerPoint set up. And what I'd like to do is open it up with, why do you want to write a book? Why do you want to write a book? We got a small enough class here. Let's share. Why would you like to write a book?
Several reasons.
Yes.
One is to share knowledge, another is to build reputation.
Share knowledge, build reputation.
Those are the biggies at this point.
Share knowledge, build reputation. Anybody for build and share? Raise your hand. Awesome. I see you. Come on up.
I've got a couple of reasons I'm here today. And one is I want to sort of grow my community. I feel like writing a book, a journal, things online, that can help attract your audience, and filter your audience, grow your community, your village. And I'm thinking today's skills, with AI, they can be transferable to my day-to-day, week-to-week. So while I'd love to write a book, if now's not the right time, I'm thinking that I can learn some skills here that can impact my day-to-day, week-to-week, make me more efficient, build my brand.
Awesome. Thank you. Give it up. Give it up. All right. Here, come on out.
I would love to share my life story and also what I learned from my healing journey for myself to help others. That's also why the reason I have a side hustle, a small business, for building the venture and mindfulness retreat program for driven leaders. So that's all tied together.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes.
I think it'll be fun.
Fun. How many of you want to have fun when you write a book? Okay, great, great. All of those reasons are big reasons to write a book. And whether you feel that it's time today to do it, or you're thinking in the future, why not now? Why not now? I'm going to tell you why now is the time to do it. The reason why is this. There is so many people. How many of you believe that you have a story that needs to be told? Raise your hand. Okay, why haven't you done it? That's not a joke, guys. The time is now. Timing. What else? What's preventing you from writing that book? Timing.
And so now it's intimidating that I have to write this thing, thesis. I'd love to, if I think about it. It's just
Timing, thinking about it. How many of you are still thinking about it? You need to raise your hand. What are the other reasons that are stopping you from writing your book?
Confidence that my story is unique enough to share.
Confidence that your story is unique enough to share. Okay. Do you believe in your story?
I have doubts.
You have doubt.
Yeah,
So let's talk about it. You ready to play with me?
I can play with it.
Awesome. Why are you thinking that way?
Well, I do get feedback that I have a unique story, but I see evidence of my story in many other people, and then I see adversities that other people overcome, and sometimes it makes my story a little smaller. And so I get these doubts that, oh wow, I see these people that have overcome death and loss and come out of war and things like that. I'm just like, oh my goodness, my situation it's hard to compare.
Yeah, but not everyone wants to read about the downer stuff.
I'm just giving an example.
Okay, thank you. Then let me ask you this. When you can believe in your story, do you think you could help someone else with that story?
Yes.
Say yes. Everybody say yes.
Yes.
You can. No matter how small. And I want you to understand, I'm not picking on him because he just shared something that probably all of you, or not all of you, but some of you are thinking, yes? Am I good enough? Is it the right time to release this story? Will somebody read the book? Yes. You know, believe it or not, I thought that 20 years ago, and it took me 20 years to write my first book. So when would be the right time if it's not now? And yesterday, some of you were with us when we were talking about artificial intelligence. How many of you are afraid of artificial intelligence? Just raise your hand. Don't be afraid. You're going to see today, we're going to talk about how you can set yourself up for success. How many of you would love to be set up for success? Thank you. When you set yourself up for success, the first thing I want you to do is this. Write this down. My story can change someone's life. Write it down. My story can change someone's life. And no matter how small you think that story is, you never know the impact you can make with someone if you don't take the time to write down what you want. You know what? Writing down doesn't mean you have to do it longhand anymore. Writing it down could be, how many of you like talking to your telephone? My goodness, that's a skill you can do to write a book. Turn on that record button and say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to write a book. Here's some of my ideas. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. And guess what happens when you record? You can take that recording, dump it into an AI, you can speak it in and something translates it. We're going to show you how you can grab it, dump it into an amazing artificial intelligence tool that we are working with. And then guess what it does? There's no rhyme or reason. Here's my notes, upload. Here's notes from 20 years ago, upload. Oh, here's the book that I pretended to write but never published, upload. And guess what AI can do? You know, you saw the Tom Cruise movie. He's in front of a clear glass and he goes like this. Yeah? Well, imagine this. That's what AI does with the thoughts that you have. And I see God was already written.
No, you're good. I got that up.
Okay.
You know, it's all.
So what I want you to do is keep an open mind. What am I asking you to do? Keep an open mind. And by the time you walk out of here, I would really love for you to come up to me and say, hey, Mamie, you know what? I'm going to write my book. That's the biggest gift that you could give us today. And whether you write it with AI, or you write it on a piece of paper, or you write it on your, what is this called?
Remarkable.
Remarkable. You write it on your Remarkable, or your iPad, or your telephone. That's the start. This is the one thing that I believe. In order to get started, what do you need to do first? Start. So sometimes when I'm not ready to start, guess what I do? I just step forward and I say, okay, I'm going to start. That's the start, guys. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the tools that you can use. The way that you can get a frame of mind. And for those of you who are afraid of AI, come to the dark side. Come to the dark side. Because AI will light the path for you. Good or good? Good or good?
Yes.
Yes. All right, now let's do this.
Well, first of all, we want to acknowledge Matt Van Sistine in the back. Hope you don't mind us doing that. Our sponsor today from Silver City, Denver. This is an amazing event space. It can transform to host all sorts of different events. And there's actually, I don't know, Matt, if you want to share anything about the facility, or I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Oh, it's fine. The building was built in 1893. This space was a candle and candy factory. Originally, and upstairs was a big.
Matt, why don't you come up here so we can capture it?
Okay.
Because there's going to be people actually that can learn about Silver City, because there's going to be a lot more people watching these videos too.
So the building was built in 1893. This space was a candle and candy factory. Upstairs was a pay-by-the-hour hotel. This area of Larimer Street and Market Street has the distinction of having the highest number of brothels in the United States and the early 1900s. And so, yeah, we revived it. It last was used as a pawn shop, and now we're using it as a gallery space. We've done some gallery showings, some events, some photo film shoots. So versatile space, and then also have upstairs have a conference room and a rooftop desk. So if anyone wants to go see a nice 360 views, catch
It's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Learned something new about Denver with brothels. Wow. And I'm a native. I didn't know that. How did that happen? So, you know, in terms of book writing, as Mamie talked about, it opens doors, right? And so with whatever you're doing, the visibility that you can get, and it makes an amazing lead magnet as well. It doesn't have to be this huge book that you're writing. And it can be also an opportunity we have for you, if you've got a network of people, to even just write a chapter in a book. And we'll talk more about that a little later. But ultimately, when we talk about why books matter, again, it's instant visibility, right? And you are then seen as like that thought leader. And it's permanent. Once a book is there, you know, it'll stand the test of time. And we talked yesterday in some of the sessions about this idea of living a legacy. And, you know, not only living a legacy, but obviously leaving a legacy as well. So the opportunities you get, people see the book, they're looking, and you are that thought leader. And so whatever you're doing in your business, it will attract people to you. And you don't have to be the consultant or coach to do that. It can be any type of business. And it doesn't even have to be on a topic that is directly related to your business. It really is up to you, but it just multiplies the opportunity you have to speak, to appear in media, to get on those stages and do things of that nature. So, you know, what we're going to talk about today is the book concept, and we'll walk you through that with some pretty cool opportunities for you to really be thinking about your book. And the thing that a lot of people don't get is they've got to understand their target market. And that's true in your business. I had some people come up yesterday talking to me about that, and you know, some of the insights they gained from some of the other sessions we had about really getting clear on who you're serving and what you're doing for them. And not only that, we talked about why you do it. And that's something that a lot of authors don't always include in their book in detail. And then obviously how you can, with our AI tools and just even a little bit of knowledge, you can really accelerate that process. Because I know there were some people, again, I know we had some other people join. Who's written a book in here? Okay. How long did it take you to write a book? A long time. 6 months? 6 years. Okay. I mean, typically you hear that. And I know that's how long it took me typically with what I did. And so what if you could accelerate that dramatically based on what you know and actually get it done in hours? Maybe not like out on the market, but complete it, writing everything that you can then leverage and go and refine. And it's so powerful. And the cool thing about a book is, you know, Mamie mentioned the opportunity to get a journal or a workbook or things like that. There's actually, and I sat down with Chris and we walked through it, and we came up with over 150 ways you can monetize a book and derivative works that you can create from a book. And that wasn't an exhaustive list. It's just incredible when you apply a little bit of creativity to utilizing your content and that information. And the other fun thing to do, which I love as a recovered academic who's developed over 1,000 courses, is helping people take their book and put it into a course. And I worked with an author where we had several bestsellers, and he actually created different versions of the book for different target markets. And we created a course, which led to actually a certification program where people were out training his material in the marketplace. And then he's collecting royalties and doing things from that. But it's just really, it's up to your imagination to be able to think about, what do I want to do and what doors do I want to open by writing a book? And what we want to do is have you have an opportunity. We're going to go through actually looking at defining your book's purpose. And actually what I'm going to do is share this QR code with you. So I'd love for you to pull out your phones and scan it. Because what it's going to do is take you to a resource. And it will actually allow you to interact with it. Mimi, do you want to go ahead and share a little bit of your experience with this? And I'll share.
Can you imagine this? You think you want to write a book, but you don't know who's going to read it. Like your business, you need to know what your ideal client is. This tool is going to help you hone into that. We call it an ICAO, an ideal client offers worksheet. You're going to actually answer 4 questions. This isn't going anywhere but between you and your phone right now. It asks you 4 questions on who your audience is. And for me, I did a presentation for 25 women. And they said, I want to write a book, but they didn't know what they wanted to write on and who they were going to write for. These 4 questions helped us vet out 15 other elements that you need to write your book. Think this could be a good tool for you? I can tell you this, by the time we were done with one woman, she said, maybe can we actually meet for about an hour? So we did a consultation with her. By the time we were done, we had her book, we had 10 chapters already outlined, and all the material that she's been collecting over the years, we use the tool that we have to say, here's the chapters, here's some of my notes, figure out where we can place it. This is how we can actually say we have created. Too bad you couldn't hear Marty's story. He's the one who says, I wrote 8 books, why do I need AI? Well, this is what he did in 4 hours. He wrote a brand new book, he created a course, he created a signature talk, which means he could get up on stage and talk about his book. He wrote a song. He got a script for the MC to introduce him to the stage that he had not been booked on yet. That's what we call manifestation. And by the time he was done, I'd say he did 1 session, read over of his book, and then took it to his editor. And his editor had already published 8 of his books. And she said, what do you want me to do with this book? I've already read it. It didn't need any editing. It sounded so much like him. And she asked him, are you cheating on me? Did you hire somebody to read and edit my book? No. So the other thing I want you to understand is, for those of you who have met Doc and I yesterday, we believe that when you write a book, it should sound like you, have the information like you. Then we help you do this. We have a background in neurolinguistic programming. We do neuroscience. We do 2 methodologies, which is values-based. And that is, we incorporate values-based persona for empathy in your books. And we have another tool that we use called the learning code, which is the meaning of life. So we have all of those in a tool that you will have access to. And guess what? See this tool that we're giving to you for free? Has all of that written into it. And all you have to do is press the button, answer 4 questions, and you will be surprised when it's going to kick out. Because it not only gives you your information to write your book, it's also going to get you thinking about how do you offer your book? What other possibilities can you do with the book? Go ahead, Al.
So, when you talk about the writing process, again, I think you'll be amazed how the feedback you get from that other AI tool will help you evolve your thinking and really get clear on your target market in a lot of different ways. But part of the process is too, you may not have clarity with it. And so actually what you'll find with that tool, not only will you get that ideal client offer worksheet, but it is using a GPT tool. It's basically just a custom GPT that's programmed. It'll actually prompt you. Would you like to go on and, would you like maybe a potential outline for this and other things like that? And you can work with it. And you'll find that actually with that tool, you could probably just go ahead and write your book. But it doesn't have any of the things built into that particular tool, doesn't have any of the things Mamie was just talking about in terms of the values-based system, in terms of the neuroscience, in terms of the personality-based system, the learning code, and those other things, and the structure of best-selling books. And as I mentioned, you know, Chris, you think if you publish 15,000 books with some of the names I mentioned earlier, you know what you're doing? And hundreds of bestsellers, and even himself, I think he's published 18 international bestsellers. And so when we built our other AI tool, which we're not giving you access to for free, but it's an opportunity to get a glimpse of the power of AI to ideate. And you can use AI to just generate those outlines and everything, and to think about what you want to communicate. And the other part is ideating about what your story is and what are the things that you really want to share. What are those examples and what are the lived experiences you have? Because AI does not know those things, right? And what's so cool about that is you ideate, you can also then, in that process, begin pulling in research very easily, incredibly easily, which is, as somebody who spent many years after I got my PhD in Boulder in business, you know, the process of research has changed dramatically. And some of you were at the session when I talked about perplexity. It's a powerful tool for that. But ultimately, how you cluster things. And then the creation, the chapter by chapter content generation. The AI tool that we actually built, not the one to help with the iCal, but the one that's broader, does that, and it walks you through, and it's a back and forth collaborative process. It's like you have the world leading ghostwriter at your fingertips in that process to help you write that, and the voice consistency and everything else that Mamie talked about. The fact checking. What was cool too with Marty was like, well, okay, for that edit, which didn't really need any editing, she's like, well, how much would you charge me? And she's like, well, for even just a single chapter, it'd be at least $1,500. It's not really an edit, it's just a proofread. So the amount of money he was saving just by the fact that he used an AI tool, and she was like, this is the best writing you've done. And like Mamie said, she thought, did you already have it edited? Did you send me the right thing? Like, so it's so powerful, but that ability in the refinement stage to do that, because obviously AI is the best proofreader, the grammar, and when you think about it, and as an academic, like Grammarly, been around for decades, you know, like it's an AI tool, basically. So this is an amazing application to it. And actually, Chris and I started, I said, you know, after he published my book, the last one, I started talking about AI. And so we originally just built an AI playbook to help people like figure it out. And we're like, you know what, we could build a tool to do this. That would be so much more powerful. Because the prompts, and you can go get prompts for writing a book wherever you want. They don't have the secret sauce. They don't understand all the things we've built in based on his decades of knowledge and the process of the 15,000 books. And so the other part of it is, you know, not only just the editing, but the things that you can do beyond that with the cover design, the book descriptions, the platform, and things that you can create a digital presence with very quickly through other tools. And actually, as an author, most authors will have a website for their book, as an example. There's all these other things you might want to build out, and funnels and things like that. And so some of you were at some of the sessions yesterday where we were talking about more of those types of digital journeys, but we can curate that whole ecosystem around that. So when you talk about launching for maximum impact, there's obviously a soft launch. And I know people that just in the last month, I saw somebody like, you know, order it now. And I saw the cover and stuff, and I'm like, I didn't know you were writing a book. Well, I haven't done it yet. I just wanted to put the cover out and get pre-orders. Perfect strategy, right? And you think you're motivated if you actually start getting, like, I got like 100 orders for it. I better sit down and actually write it now, right? So, you know, pre-order campaigns, having readers go out and actually read what you're doing. And obviously the beta readers are amazing people to provide testimonials that will go into the book. And then you begin collecting that social proof from others about the value of the information you have. And then, of course, you can do a full launch. You know, with the PR, we have tools for helping with PR and other things, podcast experiences. If you're interested in getting on podcasts, maybe mention getting on stages. We have a program called Leveraging Up that is really powerful, and it's designed to help you get on podcasts and training you for doing that and getting that. And that obviously then leads to more business, more visibility as you're reaching those people. And even a podcast tour. It could be podcast tour. It could be a book writing tour, city-wide across the US. We have connections with other people that do that. You want to be on the billboard in Times Square? We can connect you with being able to have that. So cool to get that type of visibility. And there's lots of people that have been able to really launch a book and within hours hit bestseller category. And basically the visibility that brought in, the example of James, bringing in $250,000 in just a couple months in his business because of that. And Mamie, I'll turn it over to you. You're so good at talking about the book Ascension.
Oh. We're talking a lot about getting your book and what do you do with it? Because you need to be starting to think about this before you even write your book. Okay? And Ascension is this. Start with a book. We talked about taking your book and then possibly turning it into a course. How many of you would love to see your book being taught by someone else or by yourself? Okay? We can go from a book to a podcast. You have speaking opportunities. I'm going to say this. Doc and I, we walk our talk. This was the first anthology that I did. And if you notice, it was a pretty big anthology for me because I do know Tony. He wrote the foreword. I know Kevin Harrington because I've served with him for many years. And then Jim Britt. Jim Britt worked with all two gentlemen. This was it was not my book, guys. All I did was write a chapter in it. I wrote a chapter on how you do return on investment. This book got me on a stage that led me to travel internationally. How many of you would love to take your book and travel internationally? Thank you. That is the type of thing that a book can do for you. Now I'm going to say this. The reality is this. Most people publish a book and guess what it becomes? Shelf help. On the shelf and it collects dust. This book, I don't collect dust. I just give it away because this became my business card. I'm going to say this too. This was the last series that Tony allowed us to use his face on the book. So there's timing that is everything. Okay? So they did five iterations of this. The other thing I want to point out is Doc talked about his book. He won't talk about his stuff, so I will. He did a book with someone else, and this was targeted to education. And so when he published this book, what does that give him? Credibility. Okay? And then we talked about your book does not need to be an encyclopedia. Your book could be as small as this. And it's a lead magnet. So those are some of the things that we get to do when you have an idea. And I know a 10-year-old boy has written 15 bestsellers. And I got to work with a 10-year-old girl who said, Miss Mamie, what can an 8-year-old do for the world? And I said, Maddie, you'd be surprised what an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old can do. So she goes, I need to think about this, Miss Mamie. And I was at one of T. Harbecker's events that I used to run. She went back to her seat, and she comes running up and tells me, Miss Mamie, I know how I'm going to change the world. I'm like, bring it on. Tell me what you're going to do. I am going to write a book, said this 10-year-old. Now I got goosebumps because I told her, Maddie, if you can write a book, I will be your biggest cheerleader. Because I keep saying 8 because when I met her, she was 8. A 10-year-old, I said, what's your story going to be? And this is what she told me. Miss Mamie, my father made a lot of mistakes. My father made so many mistakes, Miss Mamie, he's in jail right now. Sorry, this is really touching for me. My dad did some bad things, he's in jail. But you know what, Miss Mamie? Everybody makes mistakes. And I still love my dad. Guess what her book cover was? everybody makes mistakes, and I still love my dad. That 10-year-old made a big impact. Why? Because she was part of a family that had domestic violence. And it was a perspective from a 10-year-old writing a book. And before she wrote that book, these are the things she told me. Miss Mamie, I want to go to the White House and talk to the president about what they need to do for kids like me. I said, so be it. And I said, what do you want to do for yourself, Maddie? She goes, I'm going to go to New Zealand because I think I could be on the set of The Lord of the Rings. I said, so be it. A year after we had that talk, she found out I was speaking in Philadelphia. She said, Miss Mamie, are you going to be in Philadelphia? I said, yes. Her and her mom took a flight to Philadelphia. And she presented me with her book, Everybody Makes Mistakes, and I wish I had it. That year, Maddie went to the White House to talk about domestic violence. She became a poster child for domestic violence across the U.S. And guess what Maddie got awarded? A trip to New Zealand to see The Lord of the Rings. She was 10 years old, guys. 10 years old. So I'm going to get ruthlessly compassionate here. So what the hell are you guys waiting for to write your book? Because you never know who's waiting to hear your story. And you never know what prison you're going to unlock for someone else. That's how powerful your words can be. Are you following me? And we gave you one tool to start with. I'm going to encourage you to take that challenge because that's going to be your first step for those of you who have not written a book. Does that make sense? And I'll get off my soapbox because someone does need to hear your story, no matter how small it is. Because small things done consistently over time make big differences in our world. There you go, Doc. Don't ask me to talk again.
Well, she's got so many stories like that, so you never know which one she's going to share. But isn't that powerful when you think about it? And, you know, we've done these workshops. For a while, we were doing a one-day workshop and where people would get their book done. And what was so cool in that process, I'd ask people, like, how long, type in the chat. We would do some in person or in, you know, a lot that we were doing more recently, virtual one days. And I'd ask the question, how long have you been thinking about writing the book that you're here for today? And the average out of dozens of these, you know, I don't know how many people, like out of all the feedback is about 7 years that most people have been sort of thinking about that process. And obviously we heard from some of you earlier, it's 6 months, years, you know. We had one lady she said it's over 20 years that she's been wanting to write a book, you know, and we made it happen. And so again, and some of you may have heard me talk about yesterday, like, where's the wealthiest place on this planet? Anyone yesterday at that session?
Graveyard.
The graveyard, right? Yeah, I recognize you. Thanks for coming back. The graveyard is the wealthiest place on this planet. Why? It's not the oil fields or the diamond mines. It's the graveyard because that's where the book that you never wrote goes to die, right? The dream, the products, the business you never started, all those things. But anyways, don't let that happen. Don't have that regret because as Mamie said, your mess could be the message somebody else needs to hear or that prison that you unlock for them. And so the critical question too is, once you write your book, like how do you deliver it for maximum impact? And Mamie has trained people, including some of the names she mentioned before, on speaking on stages. And, you know, being able to do that effectively, delivering your message for maximum impact, whether it's that or that's why we designed the Leveraging Up program, so that you're very clear on your message and what you're doing. And we train people on that, not just for book writing purposes, but in business. How do you deliver that? Some of you were at the pitch session we did yesterday. But it's an opportunity to leverage it because the average book is a self-help book, as Mamie put it. I love that. I mean, and most self-published authors sell less than 100 books, okay? So it's not something, but one person can have that ripple effect, as Mamie talked about from her work with Tony Robbins, that one person can ripple out to 350,000 people. So you just never know that message and how far it might reach. And it's the written word and the spoken word that's so powerful. And what's cool with AI is you don't have to actually, you have that voice person doing your book. You can use your voice and now get the book done and not have to record and re-record in a studio like all day long. So, that matters. And to open doors, to fill rooms, to multiply your revenue. And these are just some statistics based on some of the authors that are out there in terms of what they've seen in the impact of having that book. So, yeah, let's do that. Your book is really your legacy in terms of things, and your expertise is your power. Together, they create unstoppable authority. It's so powerful when you combine them. And so with that, we want to let you know that it's a journey, and to write faster with AI is part of that process to start with. And to publish smarter, to scale your authority, we have refined the approach. And obviously, Chris really refined a lot of it. Having published 15,000 books, he had it down. But then when you layer his experience onto what AI can do to train it based on that experience, it is a optimized process to really get there quickly. So again, you have the foundation. We give you a tool to go through and make sure you understand your ideal client, your audience, and the psychographics, the demographics, who they are, what problem are you solving for. And the biggest mistake I hear people make in business and in writing a book too is people don't care what you sell. They care why you do it, right? They don't buy what it is. Simon Sinek said something to that, the variation of that. But ultimately, getting really clear on that, and rather than telling people, what you do, we talked about what you stand for yesterday. Some of you were at that session. But ultimately, it's about understanding the transformation. People want a result from a book. What is the promise that you have when you're done reading that book, that my life will be different in some way and I will be transformed in this area? Because even if you're a chapter ahead of somebody as an 8-year-old, and whatever age, do you think you have experience? Anyone ever have a mentor in life? Was that helpful? And so you can be that mentor to somebody else. And not just one-on-one, but your wisdom, your experience. Again, whether it's a mess, that's your message. And that's so powerful. And so as we look at this idea, it's a comprehensive system to really build your authority. Opening the doors to social media. We already talked about that, so I'm not going to belabor it. But there's success story after success story of people that had been trying to get through doors and getting visibility. And no one really listened. But you know what happens when you send that CEO your book? You think maybe, oh, wow, maybe I should actually talk to that person that's been persistent just with those annoying emails. And they just sent me a free book. I did that. I sent out free books to people with a letter following up. It helps open doors. It's the cheapest lead magnet you can have. And books, again, you get instant authority when you look at what you're doing with a book. And it's that legacy, right? How cool is it when you've captured that for generations to come within even your own family? I was blessed in many respects. Just a real quick story. My mother had sepsis a couple of years ago. And we thought she was going to die any day. The hospital, I was basically on watch for months, 24/7, my sister and I. And the one thing that I did, and I realized, is I didn't know much about her life. And so I actually got a book, Best Investment I Made, and I've sent it to a lot of people I know. A variation of it was, Mom, tell me your story. And it was just questions, and we'd sit in the hospital room asking question after question. And I'm so glad I captured her. She made it through sepsis, but unfortunately she died about 9 months ago. But I have her history and things I never knew about her. But it's captured for my kids, maybe at some point their grandkids, who knows? So powerful. So, the reduction in time, boosting authority, legacy, impact. And so with that, we're so grateful that you came this morning. Your message matters, and we want you to get it out in the world. So maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about this.
For those of you who want to get started, this is an invitation to check out what's possible. The lady to the right, Kelly Tenney, the program we've put together is this. She will help you write a lead magnet to publish your book before you write it. Then you've got the expertise of Dr. Eric and myself that will help you personally write your book using the tools that we have. Okay? And this is a valued program at $10,000, and we said we needed to offer it $97 because people want to write a book, but they don't know where to start.
The link is broken.
Oh, no.
We just tested it.
I know.
All right.
We'll
The
make
good
sure
news
to
is
get it.
this. Anything that we have, we're going to be sending out in an email just to confirm those of you. If you haven't checked in, please go ahead and check in because this is how we know who to send the information to. Okay? For those of you who just joined us, we offered a tool that is free to help you actually get your ideal client offer worksheet completed. That's your first step in getting your chapters outlined.
And this is, if you came in late,
There
make
you
sure
go.
to scan this so you can capture it, and you will be blown away
Yeah.
after you answer those 4 questions. Just a glimpse of what's possible in that process. And as I shared, you can go on with
And the
that.
good news, guys, this is yours. Doesn't come back to us, it's yours.
Will you send that after the fact also?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know we're up against some time here. Any questions? Any questions? Yes?
Yeah, so how does copyright come into play with the use of AI versus your own thought?
Very good question. We use your words. AI only helps us find the research to support your writing. So we use your stories. The tool that we've built encompasses neurolinguistic programming, neuroscience, values-based personas, and so forth. And so your writing is enhanced by the foundations that we've put in. And when we use the tool that we have, we also encourage you to use a fact finder such as Grammarly to make sure you are not plagiarizing. A majority of the writings that we do can run through Grammarly with very little generative AI because of the tools we've already built into the foundation. Okay? That's a big thing, copyright.
If you already have something, and I'm thinking of dissertation, academic, right, but I never actually did anything with it, how does that tie into, like, okay, that's my original work, but if I put it up there, then it's like out there in the wild, right?
Not on our tool.
No.
Our tool is a built-in server for ourselves.
And it's as a RAG system, if you're familiar with that. So that's the beauty of it as well. So you've got a little bit more protection than if you were just using a tool like Chat or Gemini or Grok or whatever, Perplexity. It's protected a little bit more. And what's super cool about our tool is we have had people that, like, I've never written a book, but, I've done 400 podcasts, one guy. So we can take all that information and you know what? Create multiple books. Oh my God, with all that, because the AI can transcribe all that very quickly. And so we have that if you've written articles or other things like that. Obviously, that just I never did anything with my dissertation. I guess it's about time I do that too, right? And just, we can upload it and say, I want to write it using this information. Yeah, it's gold. And the other thing, I mentioned the person that we had written that we worked with for several other best-selling books, taking one thing and adjusting it for different contexts, different audience, different ages even. You think about Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits for, they spun it a lot of different ways for teenagers, for whatever. It doesn't matter. Or the Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield. You can do the same thing very quickly with AI now because you can just give it the context and it'll place it in that context and field. Yeah.
One other question. So Do you own the content that's in your tool, or do we retain all of the rights?
No, it's yours, completely yours. You have all that, and obviously that's the other thing to be careful of if you are publishing with other people. When you work with a publisher, you want to make sure that you retain the copyright to your work, because there's some publishers where people don't realize it, what they're signing off on sometimes, and they lose actually the IP that they created. So probably one or two more questions,
Two
and
more
then
questions.
I know we got people coming in for the next session.
So as you're writing it, I mean, how do you know? Aren't you training the AI and the material you're putting there? Is it just the copyright that protects your information? Or can something else grab what you're putting in and reuse it?
That's a uniqueness. You have your own agents, and so no one else has access to what you have.
Can I add on to that?
Yes.
So you have an agent that may be yours or it's in the cloud somewhere, but that content is going through one of the big AI engines, correct?
I'm going to defer to Doc because he's the one that works.
I can explain the details of how that works, but it's what the information, how it passes back and forth is different with a retrieval augmented system, RAG system as they're known. And there's the same systems like Amazon Bedrock uses, like the Department of Defense, like there's things, and in your company too, obviously if you're using like a team account and things like that, but we can talk about the AI process, but in the interest of time, we've got another session we're gonna be starting, okay? Great question though.
One last quick one is I know, especially if you were trying to sell this as an audio or a digital book on Amazon, they have a lot of protections in place to make sure that there aren't not just copyrights, but there's a lot of AI detection in that.
Yeah.
How do you just recommend not to use Amazon Kindle? Or?
Yeah, so what we found is, I mean, it just depends on what you want to do, because, and actually they do have a tool you can use to do your audio through them. You're still getting, you know, a fraction of the royalties doing that. So most of the authors we work with, we will help them get their audio book, and we can generate that very quickly with AI. And then as we build out their website and the funnels and the ecosystem, the best thing is to really have that book on your own site, the audio that you're selling, and that way you're getting the full amount of money, and then you don't have to worry about that. But it just depends on your, you know, the size and the reach and the marketing you want to do and the audiences that you can really tap into. But happy to talk about that. You know, it's a changing prospect. So we'll be around all day. In the interest of time, we want to give people a few more minutes between the break before we start the next session on digital clone. So apologize if we didn't get a chance to answer you. The other thing we mentioned, checking in, maybe mention that. If you haven't checked in, there's the codes on the wall and around the room in different places that will connect you with us, so we'll be able to share more information with you. We'll make sure we get the code about the event out.
You get an email, so you have direct contact with us. So if you have questions that we haven't answered, just put it in an email and we'll get back to you.